In this video, we will be adding the slideshow. Yay! Looking closely at our sample here, you'll notice that I have 5 images, or I don't know if you'll notice that, but I'm telling you, we have 5 images, and the whole animation takes about 20 seconds to cycle through. Now, before we get started, I want to make sure to let you know that I am just introducing you to the idea of using animation for your website or to a website. I have a whole class for that, and that's after people have taken 2 or 3 web classes with me. So I'm just introducing you to the possibilities. I've also provided a PDF that says slideshow explained on it, or that's what it's called. So I've attempted to explain to you what's going on. The animation is 20 seconds, and each picture starts off with an opacity of 0, meaning they're invisible, and they go through various stages within the 20 seconds of appearing and disappearing. Like, look at image 1, for example. Right at the beginning of the animation, it goes from 0% opacity to 100% opacity from 0 to 4 seconds, and then from 4 to 8 seconds, it starts disappearing again. But as it's disappearing, the second image starts its process of going from 0% to 100%, and then the other images do the same thing. And by the time we get to the 5th image, well, we're ready to start over again. We're accomplishing all of this using keyframes. And within keyframes, we specify at different time periods what we want to happen. At 25% of 20 seconds, or that would be the equivalent of 5 seconds, we are telling it to have an opacity of 1 or 100%. But then by 8 seconds, we're telling, or at 40%, we're telling it to go back to 0. That's kind of what's controlling all this. So I'm just kind of introducing you, but for those of you who are interested in learning more about it, well, you can kind of study this right here. But at the most basic level, the part I want to talk about is the keyframes property. This is how you can start use, or not keyframes property, but the keyframes rule. This is what we use for creating animation. And the way it works is you use the add keyframes word and then follow that with the name of your application or your animation. And then you specify what you want to happen within each keyframe. You could be as detailed as you want to get, or in our example, I'm only specifying something in the 25% and 40% mark. And once you're finished creating the keyframes, then you need to bind that animation to a particular element, and you do that by using the animation property. In the animation property, you put in the value, the name of the animation, and then you put in how long you want the animation to last. Now that's just using the animation shorthand, but if you want just like background images or just background, you can specify each one separately: animation name, animation duration, animation delay, animation iteration count. So where do we go from here? Well, let's start adding the code so that we can start seeing how this works. And to save you the trouble of having to type in all that code for the slideshow part, at least in the HTML, I provided another zip file, and then inside that is a for-index page.html file. Copy all that code and paste it in your index.html. Let's add that right there. We'll replace, let me show that again. I am replacing sleepingbaby.jpg and pasting all of this information over that. Now you'll notice that I created a div, a container for the 5 different images. And for that div, I specified a class called large for it. And I also use large as a class for these images. Large is what's controlling the width and height of these images. Same thing for this div. That's what's giving it a width and height. Let's save that and take a look at what we have going on for our home page right now, as is. Well, I got my 5 images, but there's no animation going on. Well, that's because we haven't set up the keyframes or used the animation property yet. And we also have all these images just kind of on top of each, or one on top of the other, like staggered or stacked like that. Well, we want them to be right on top of each other so that we don't have all this space right here. We want it to be more like this, to where they're on top of each other this way. So it looks like we got some work to do. Let me check my notes here. Let's start with a comment about what we're about to do, or about this particular slideshow. First point I want to make is that this slideshow works best with 5 images, with 20 seconds total for the animation. So I want to make that part clear. If you want to use this for your website, which you are more than welcome to do so, you will have to make sure that you are using 5 images and that the animation is 20 seconds long total. You can make it continue forever, just like I have in our example, but those are going to be the specs you have to work with. Now, speaking of that, if you don't want to use this example, but you want to use a slideshow, a great resource to go to is codepen.io. You could do a search for slideshow, CSS, so that it will only show results of slideshows that do not include JavaScript. Well, let's look at this example right here. It gives you the HTML and the CSS, so all you would have to do is copy and paste that to your page and then customize that. And this example looks like this. So if you want to have a slideshow that does this instead of the appearing and reappearing act that mine does, well, here's a sample for you that you might try. There are also other search results, so you can just kind of look through all that and see what you think you like. Okay, so in the next video, let's start creating the different CSS rules to fix this situation right here.